Sorry guys, had some trouble with my live stream there. So, I killed it and came back. Sorry, had some trouble with my live. I don't know what the deal is with my signal. I don't know if it's all the trees or what. Yeah, I don't know why. No clue why. Apartment, and then I gotta get rolling. See what's going on, if anything, down here. Walk down here and we'll record from the side. A couple cops sitting over there. So I'm guessing once I point the camera at the front of the building, we're gonna have some contact. We are in Munster, Indiana, guys. There's Town Hall. Code enforcement. We're gonna walk up here to this monument, see what it says. go. Sorry. What do you guys think? Should I go on down that sidewalk and just stand there and watch them? He's leaving. Bye. Oh, that guy's gonna sit and watch me now. I'm gonna walk back down this way. See if he follows me. Not yet, you guys are behaving. I'll come over and talk to you. I'll just tell you this. If you knew who I was, I would never be allowed to go on a ride-along.
Why is that?
Because I wouldn't be.
All right, well, good luck to you, sir.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Hammond has asked me to go about it. I've inquired and the chief refuses because that's where I live.
Okay.
For no other reason than my name.
Okay.
I'm not a convicted felon. I don't have any of that, but just because of who I am and because I record with the camera,
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
they won't let me. That's why I said it's not that I wouldn't go. I just assumed once I told your department who I was. So, because cops talk, and I've been to towns where I don't even live and they know who I am just because.
Yeah.
You know, cops talk, and I know Hammond alone has put out 3 memos about me just because I go out and record.
Yeah.
And how their officers interact. Their officers, you know, I talked to Steve Kellogg. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the public information officer over there.
Not familiar. I've heard the name.
Right. But I've talked to him, and it's like I come out and I cover this, and then I cover news events. Like when there was the bombing in East Chicago at the post office, I went and recorded that. When the Brinks truck robbery happened in Hammond, I went and recorded that.
Yeah.
But because I'm not ABC, NBC, or Fox, I get treated different.
So why do you feel like you need to report something?
Because most cops are dishonest, and I'll explain that.
Most people are dishonest.
I agree. But what I mean by most cops are dishonest is I could be behind you going down the road and you could be doing 50 down Ridge Road, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do it, it's a crime.
Do you have a license to carry that?
Absolutely, I do.
Do you have it on you?
Yes, I do.
Let's see it.
I'm not giving it to you.
No?
I'm not required by law.
You're not required by law?
No, you have to have reasonable suspicion to check me.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, you're out here recording, being suspicious.
What crime do you suspect me of?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
You tell me? You
We're
have
just-
to have a crime.
We're just having a conversation.
No, if you're trying to ID me, no, we're not.
Okay. Well, hey.
Am I being
my
detained?
No, you're not. My name's Nolan.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. If you ever want to go out, I'm more than happy to take you.
Well, I don't think that would fly, but I appreciate the offer.
Well, no problem, sir. You have a good day.
I'm glad you backed down because most cops don't.
Back down with what?
Getting my information.
Oh, it's okay. I just want to know who you are. I told you who I was.
Right. Go ahead. The difference is though, you're a public official acting in your capacity. You're a public official acting in your capacity. I'm a private civilian. I don't have to ID.
Well, it's nice to meet you, sir.
I appreciate it.
You have a good day.
Nice try for fishing though.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Good fishing expedition. Can I have your name, badge number?
Officer Ashcraft, badge number 61.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Now they're responding. Four, 5, 8, 7. Pretty decent.
Oh, they are. Yep.
Could try the fishing expedition though. They always try, guys. They always try.
Hey, what are you carrying?
A 9mm?
Glock or what?
It's a high point. Just cheap gun.
Okay.
Yep. If you want to talk, I'll talk consensually, but I'm not talking any more than that.
Oh, no, I was just asking.
Because he tried a nice fishing expedition.
Oh.
That's what I call it. Because he comes up and he's like, hey, you should go on a ride along. And then I talk to him and then he jumps out and tries to ID me because I have a gun.
I just like that.
No, that's cool.
People,
Like I said, I'm more than happy to have a consensual conversation. But like him, I talked to him until he got out and said, give me your ID. Then we shut it down. Because he's like, well, you're being suspicious. Well, you got to tell me what crime I'm suspected of in order to ID me. So,
we just, I like to talk. I see that you carry it.
no, that's fine. Yeah, I carry and
That's good.
I go out and I record police departments. I'll tell you exactly what I do. I go out and record different departments all over the Midwest and look for bad cops. Because I told him, I said, you know, I think a majority of cops are bad. And before you react, let me finish my thought. No, but my thought on that is if, like I gave him the example, if you drive 50 mile an hour down Ridge Road, you're not going to get in trouble. If I drive 50 mile an hour down Ridge Road, you're going to pull me over. If
1 second, sir.
you're good.
Okay, if you punch the town hall, it's going to be that, the center building with the 2 white doors. And it's going to be right there. Alright, no problem, man.
But what I was getting at is there's no repercussions for you to break the law, short of a major crime. If you don't use your turn signal, if you turn where it says no turn on red, even if you're not on a call, there's no repercussions for you. Now, I'm not saying all cops are drug dealers and murderers and rapists, but
It depends, but we, with our recorders in our car, they record us 24/7. So anytime that we're in a car, they record us, and our administration reviews it.
right. But I'm guessing though, and I can't be positive, of course, but I would venture to say that, as an example, if you turn somewhere where it says no turn on red, I'm guessing that's not going to flag in the system every time because they don't know, you know what I mean? It's not going to be an indicator to pop.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. We don't have any no turn on reds here in the town.
Oh, you don't?
No, Indiana, you could turn on red.
Well, Hammond has some. That's why I'm using that as an
Yeah,
example.
we don't have any of those here. So
Or if you don't use your turn signal when you turn, or if you're speeding, you know.
here's one of my things that I do. I'm not going to stop you for something that I do. If I don't use my turn signal, I'm not going to stop you for using the turn signal or not using the turn signal.
But not all.
It happens every once in a while.
But not all cops are like that. And that's what I'm out here doing. Plus, a lot of cops, and I understand there's a lot of law that you guys are required to understand,
Yes.
but a lot of cops do not have an understanding in constitutional law.
Yeah, well, there's a lot with constitutional law, state law,
Right.
traffic law, and then we have to continue our education with every
Right.
single court case that comes up.
And you have, town ordinances and things like that. But what I found is people my age, and I would assume you're my age, I'm 34. I would assume you're approximately my age. Most cops my age are generally pretty decent towards me. Where I run into trouble is with older cops that have been out of the academy for 30 years.
And a lot of the older guys won't keep up with the
Right.
with the new laws that are coming
And that's where we get into a difference, I've seen guys, I mean, if you go on YouTube, I don't know if you look up audit videos like what I'm doing. If you type in First Amendment audit on YouTube, there's literally hundreds of thousands of videos, and you will see cops that come out and arrest people for standing on a public sidewalk and recording. Nothing more, nothing less.
No, that's right. And,
Right.
And here's another thing for you. I don't know if you live in Indiana.
I do.
Okay. Indiana is a one-party state.
Right.
Okay. You can record me without my knowledge. You can record a phone call without my knowledge.
Right.
And
Well,
one of the issues that I do see a lot with recording, take no offense to it, is when the recording gets while we're investigating something, and you get into that area that we're investigating, and I see a lot of that, with people coming into the crime scene, if you will.
right.
And that's where, I would draw the line.
Right. And I
stay within,
and I respect that. Griffith tried to tell me one time that they printed out something for me, and I took it to my attorney, and he laughed at it. But there's some sort of law that says, I want to say it's like 75 or 100 feet from a crime scene or something.
I don't know.
I don't know the exact feet, but Griffith tried to tell me that if they're interviewing a witness inside the police department, that I could be arrested for filming outside the police department because that's technically a crime scene. And I'm like, my lawyer laughed at it, and I'm just like, you're stretching, you're pulling hairs and stretching at that point. But that's the type of shit I run into.
Most of the since we're on this conversation, most of the time, I would say, let's say that we do have a serious crime going on, I would try and keep you out of earshot.
Right.
Because there's a lot of information that needs
Right.
to go on.
And that's the thing is, like, most decent officers, okay, like if you have a big traffic accident or a bank robbery or whatever, you're going to have it perimetered off to where you can't even get close enough anyway, so I'm going to stand here and shoot your car. Big fucking deal. But that's what I mean, is a lot of cops aren't cool about that stuff.
This is my supervisor.
He's going to tell you not to talk to me because I'm recording. I'll bet you $5 on it. So, plus you guys have a cop, and I don't remember his name, but you guys have a cop on your department that trolls the Northwest Indiana Cop Block page on Facebook. So, I don't remember his name. I've ran into him a couple times, and he actually stopped my wife one time. I told my wife to tell him to fuck off, but she wouldn't do it. But, yeah, one of your officers for your department actually goes on the Northwest Indiana Cop Block page and trolls.
I've been on there, but it was for something,
right.
Totally different.
But no, that's all I do. I go out and I'll stand at your, I was over by your back lot earlier. I went over to the post office because that's the other thing is a lot of people, I've ran into the issue filming post offices. A lot of cops are not aware of postal law.
I know nothing of that except for that you're not supposed to carry inside of it. That's, we can, but like
right.
The average citizen, carry concealed.
But I would encourage you, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Look up the 2010 DHS memo. Okay. You can just Google 2010. It was revised in 2018. Okay. That the Department of Homeland Security put out a memo that said essentially that you can film in any public place, any federal building, that as long as you're in a public place, you can do it. And the post office has on their wall, and you can find it online as well, called Poster 7, which is the rules and regulations of a post office. And it says you can film the outside and in public areas. So you can go into the lobby, film lobbies, corridors, auditoriums, anything like that that's public. Because I've dealt with that before, where I'll go film post offices, and people will come out, oh, you can't film here, and then they call the cops, and I've had to educate cops. And that's part of what it is. It's not just to expose bad cops.
What's your first name? I just want your first name.
My name's Jeremy.
Jeremy?
So I told the other guy, he invited me on a ride along, and I told him once you guys find out who I am, it wouldn't fly.
No.
So I'm not a felon by any means or anything, but
if you were a felon, you wouldn't be carrying.
Absolutely, you're a smart guy. But well, I guess that's not true because you get felons that drug dealers and shit. But I wouldn't be openly carrying with a camera outside of the police department where chances are I'm going to draw attention to myself. But there's just a few things like that not that you guys encounter that, but there are other people that do this besides me in the area. There's a guy in Gary.
We've got one here in town
that films.
He films us all the time. I wave at him.
Yeah, so.
Hey, Sarge. Casual conversation. Casual conversation. Oh yeah.
I'm surprised. Most supervisors say don't talk to me.
There's a difference. We like our community relations, and we like to keep our community relations on the good end. That's one of the big things for us.
And that's the thing is, like, what I do. I mean, my videos get seen by thousands of people, and it's like I can make a department look good, or if you guys are pricks, I can have 500 phone calls into your department tonight where your dispatchers are pulling out their hair. Well, not your dispatchers because it's all county, but you know what I'm saying. And other incidences where guys have been arrested and stuff for just filming and whatever. There's been points where we've called dispatch, like it's happened to me and other people where we record it and we'll put it on YouTube, obviously, but we'll call dispatch and they'll just hang up on you once they find out what you're calling for because they've gotten so many calls.
I'm pretty sure that you keep yourself updated on everything. Did you know about the new trespassing law with the purple
Yes.
stuff?
Yes. I saw that. I thought about marking my trees.
So that's one thing, that's something that you read up about.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know about that.
Yes.
So
I am aware of that, But that's where, like, we come into a gray area, and that's why it's good. Like, there's a guy over in Hammond that I talk to, and anytime I need something, I reach out to him. I will never call the police. I will call that officer, and if he's not available or not working, I'll wait till the next day. I will not call Hammond Police for nothing. But I have one officer that I have a good rapport with, and that, so that's like I deal with him. But like, I talk to him about those things, and it's like I wish Hammond cared like you care. Because a lot of people just look at me as like an instigator that I'm coming out here. And the reality of it is, am I drawing attention to myself by carrying a camera and a gun outside of a police station? Absolutely. You guys saw me.
Yeah.
I knew you saw me.
Yeah.
Is that grounds for consensual contact? Maybe. Absolutely, But the flip side to that is a lot of officers just get gung-ho and want to detain you and want to get your ID and,
I keep up with everything as much as I can. Everything changes like every 3 days.
Right. And that's the thing is there could be a new Supreme Court case ruling that comes out tomorrow, and there's tons of case law on this, and that's the thing is to take time to read and understand all that stuff. I'm lucky.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Right.
I like to keep myself up on a lot of stuff.
Like I've told cops before, like I couldn't tell you how many feet I have to signal before a turn signal, but you could bet if I'm doing this, I'm going to be educated on what I can do.
Yeah, 200 feet.
Right.
If you're on the highway, it's 400.
Right.
So,
but I mean, right. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what I can and can't do. Do I push the boundaries sometimes? Yeah. A lot of guys go into lobbies and that type of shit. I don't do that, but I can. I have every right to carry a gun and walk into your police lobby. Is that going to make people uncomfortable, or am I going to get a response? Probably. But, I don't push those things where other people do. I hang out outside. I record cars coming and going. I'll stand back there, for a half hour, and I'll mark down every unit that doesn't turn a turn signal, and then I'll send a thing into your chief. That's the type of stuff I do, because I just feel that just because you have a gun and a shiny piece of tin on your chest, which you guys looks like it's embroidered, but
some guys wear the actual badge.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Just because you have a gun and a badge doesn't make you exempt from anything. And You know, a lot of cops, you see that, you know. I record cops all the time, you know, bobbing and weaving out of traffic with no turn signal. I followed a Highland detective down 294 doing 100 mile an hour. No lights, no sirens, coming back from training. And I followed him like 100 mile an hour right behind him. Didn't even blink. I ended up knowing the cop. We got into a screaming match over at Ridge Road and Indianapolis Boulevard right in the middle of the road. Because he knew who I was once I pulled up beside him and took his picture. But, you know, I carry a dash cam that's got speed and stuff on it because, like, if I legally can't do 100 on the highway, why can you? Unless you're running lights and sirens, and even then, I don't think you're supposed to run 100, you know?
No. Reasonable.
Right.
No.
You know, but, I mean...
I'm not going to be doing 95 down Ridge Road.
Right. But you go through, if you sit out any day when you're not on duty and just watch, you know, go to Highland and watch, or sit here and watch. You'll see cops go by doing 50, 55. That's 15 or 20 over. Yeah. If I do 15 or 20 over, chances are you're going to pull me over. You may not necessarily write me a ticket, but you're at least going to stop me. Yeah. Well, what's my recourse for you? If I see you doing 55, doing just cruising down the road on your cell phone, you know, and I know you guys have an exemption for cell phones, and I know you guys have an exemption.
Indiana is we're not a hands-free state. We can still talk on the phone. The only thing is texting and using it for like watching TV.
Yeah, I got busted once. I got a ticket for using it for GPS.
Were you in Gary?
No, I got pulled over by a state trooper out by South Bend.
Yeah, state troopers are a totally different breed.
Right.
So I've been pulled over by them and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I legit showed the guy that I had my GPS. I was driving. I guess what he got me on is I was punching the address in while I was driving. But I was like, I'm using my GPS. He's like, I saw you texting. I'm like, I'm not texting. Here's my fucking GPS. Like,
yeah,
you know.
Totally different breed. So.
And I got pulled over by county once out that way too, by LaPorte County for driving suspicious. No violations, just I looked at the cop when I drove by him and he thought it was suspicious. Well, if you're sitting there running radar, I would venture to say 9 out of 10 people are going to look at you when they drive by, you know. But because I have a nice car, he pulled me over. But
well, Jeremy, it was nice seeing you. I'm about to go in. I've got to go train. I've got to do a Citizens Police Academy.
Beautiful.
All right.
I got to go to the doctor and get physical therapy. Right. Take care, man. See, and that's what I like. Good public relations. Hits his turn signal. So I'm going to get out of here, guys. I got to be at the therapy in 1 minute, and it's like 10 minutes away.